Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Part 4 homework review. And this deals with Target 16, the Part 4 section of the notes, and that deals with the 30, 60, 90 right triangles and the 45, 45, 90 right triangles, and the relationship between the length of the three sides, and recognizing that there's a pattern. And if we can recognize the pattern in the information we have, we can figure out all the three sides just by knowing one, without having to do much algebra or Pythagorean theorem or anything like that. We just know what the relationship is. And so I've asked more questions than normal on this review just so we can practice some of those patterns a little bit more. So if you look at number 1 here, we have a 45, 45, 90. Hopefully that's fairly obvious, right? And if we look for a 90-degree angle, across from that's going to be our hypotenuse. And so that's going to be the side that's different. That's normally our x root 2 side. Remember, in general in our notes, we've written hypotenuse is x root 2. And then the other two sides are equal to each other. So they are just the same number, and we'll call it x, whatever that is. And so in this example, we see one of our legs being 5. So the other leg has to be 5. And then our hypotenuse is the leg number with the square root of 2 attached to it. So the y is just 5 times the square root of 2, right? So x was 5, y is 5 root 2. And all of that was based on the idea that our leg was 5. Perfect. Now let's go to number 2. This one is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. First, we want to recognize a triangle as being half of this rectangle they've given us. And then we see the 60 degrees in there. So that makes the other angle have to be 30. And so in that green triangle, we have a 30, 60, 90, right? And we need to find P and M. Our M is our hypotenuse, and P is the longer leg, right? It's across from the 60 degree, meaning that the information we have where the 6 is, that's the short leg. Now, real quick, I want to draw 30, 60, 90 up here for you. Put the 60 there, the 30 there. And remember, it's all about the short leg number. In a 30, 60, 90, across from the 30 is our short leg, and we just call that x. It's just some number. And then the relationship is this. Across from our 60 is our long leg, and it is the short leg number, which is x times the square root of 3. And then our hypotenuse, across from the 90, it is 2x, right? It's twice as big as the short leg. And so I'm going to just draw this green triangle kind of in that perspective. We know our hypotenuse was M, our long leg was P, right? And that's across from the 60, and our short leg is 6. Well, M is going to be the easiest to get. Again, M is our hypotenuse because it's across from the 90, and it's twice as big as the short leg. So if the short leg was 6, hypotenuse is 12. And then P is the short leg number, which is 6, with the square root of 3 attached to it. And that's it for that problem. Now, 3 and 4 can be a little bit trickier. In 3, again, we have a triangle, even though it looks like a square, and that triangle is like half of this square. And so I'm going to draw that like this. Boom, 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 right? Here's a 90. In a square, when the diagonals are in, it creates two 45-degree angles, and so the information we have is that our hypotenuse is 8. Remember, in a 45, 45, 90, the hypotenuse usually is the square, our leg number. Remember, our legs are the other two sides, so we call that x, but then we multiply it by the square root of 3, or 2. In this problem, our hypotenuse is just 8. And so we have to divide by the square root of 2 to figure out, again, what our leg is. And so let's do that math over here real quick. 8 is going to equal x times the square root of 2, so we want to divide by the square root of 2 to figure out what x, which is our leg, is. And so 8 divided by the square root of 2 is our answer. If we type that into our calculator so that we can get a decimal for whatever that is, we should see that our decimal is going to be equal to 5.7. 5.7. And so that means each leg is 5.7. So this side's 5.7 and this side's 5.7. Well, this bottom 5.7 corresponds to C, but this is a square. And so the right and the left are going to be the same. So I figured out that this side was 5.7 right down there, and that's going to equal what D is. So D is going to equal 5.7 as well. All right, last one of these kind. We have a 30, 60, 90, and across from our 90 is our hypotenuse, and our hypotenuse is always twice as big as our short leg, right? And so we know the hypotenuse is 10, our short leg is across from the 30, and so our short leg is half of the hypotenuse, so C has to be 5, and then our long leg is where D is, and that's the short leg number, which is 5, with our square root of 3. All right, so that takes care of those problems. Hopefully that helps. Let's do a couple of these word problems. So side length of an equilateral triangle is 5. Find the length of the altitude. Let's draw an equilateral triangle. Remember, equilateral means all 3 sides are the same. So if one's 5, the other 2 are 5 as well. And then remember, the height of our triangle is that imaginary dotted line we draw down, creates a 90-degree angle, and it also cuts that bottom side in half. So now we know these are 2.5 sections. The other thing we know about an equilateral triangle is all the angles are 60, and then the one that gets cut by the altitude gets cut in half, so each side of that is 30, but making the whole thing still 60. And so we want to focus on this piece right here, right? Our altitude, which we will call our height. 60 degree in this corner, 30 in that one, creates a 90. We know our slanted side is 5, and we know this bottom small side got cut in half, so it's 2.5. And so we have a 30, 60, 90, and we're going to find the length of the altitude just by using those properties. Remember, our hypotenuse is always twice as big as our short leg, so our hypotenuse is 5, across from the 30 is the short, and 2.5 is half of 5, so that's perfect, which means that our long leg, which is where H is going to be our short leg number, 2.5, times the square root of 3. So this could be an answer for H, but if you type 2.5 times the square root of 3 into your calculator, you will also get, one sec, you will also get 4.3, and centimeters is our units, so 4.3 centimeters. Perfect. All right, let's do one more problem. Diagonal of a square. So here's a square. Remember, in a square, all 4 sides are the same. Diagonal connects opposite corners. I know the diagonal is 6. So I got to find the length of one side. And just remember, so this time we're just finding the length of the side. Just remember, when we draw the triangle or the diagonal in there, we create a triangle with half of our square, and that diagonal is across from our 90, so it is the hypotenuse. And in a square, both sides are going to be the same, and so both of these missing sides in this triangle are going to be the same number. And not only that, but this is a 45, 45, 90 triangle when we draw that diagonal in a square. So just remember, the hypotenuse is normally where we see x root 2. We don't see the square root of 2 right now, it's just 6. So this is the one where we can set 6 equal to x times the square root of 2 and just divide both sides by the square root of 2. And that'll tell us what our 2 legs are going to be. And so our legs, just remember this x stands for the leg number. It's going to equal 6 over square root of 2. And if you type that into your calculator, you will see that 6 divided by the square root of 2 is roughly 4.2. Now the units here are inches. And so so this is going to be the side of one of our triangles, right? That's 6, 4.2. But then that corresponds to the length of the sides of our square. And remember, in a square, they're all the same. And so they just want to find the length of a side. And so a side in this problem equals 4.2 inches. And there it is. All right. I hope that helped. Just remember, tomorrow we'll have, today we even have another extra practice sheet for target 4, or part 4. And so keep working on this and keep recognizing 45, 45, 90, and 30, 60, 90 triangles. I know we've gone through this kind of fast, but as you get comfortable with the pattern, I think you'll be able to go through it just as fast as well. So awesome. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.